Hey everyone, this is King Kong Knights 100, and I got a quick video today. I'm going to be talking about solo films. Yay! You're probably wondering, yo, didn't you just make a King Ghidorah solo film video? I did, but the thought occurred to me about Mothra and Rodan getting their own solo film, and I just had to make this video. And I want it to be quick too, because I tend to ramble a lot. We're going to be discussing how would Mothra or Rodan getting their own solo films work? Would it work? How could it work? And what could you do to make it work if it couldn't? Now, right off the bat, I think that Rodan or Mothra being in their own solo film, like just a standalone film, it would not work. If they do not have Godzilla and Kong in their own film, it just wouldn't work. And assuming that all the supernatural elements are taken out of Mothra in Godzilla King of the Monsters, then that increases her chances of getting a solo film much more than it would if she did have supernatural elements, and it would be really cheesy if she did. But yeah, I mean, my thoughts are that I want to see Rodan get his own solo film because of how natural he is, but at the same time, and I think that could work really well. But at the same time, I want to see Mothra because even though she is a bit supernatural, like I just said, if it's taken out of Godzilla King of the Monsters, she would still seem much more supernatural just because she's a giant moth and her origin could be shrouded in such mystery. Yeah, I mean, if all the supernatural elements are taken out, then Mothra could work. And I'm leaning towards seeing Mothra more than Rodan because I want to see King Kong interact with Mothra. Now, what I just said in the beginning was that what would you have to do to make it work? Right off the bat, Mothra and Rodan, even if you have supernatural elements taken out of their films, it still just wouldn't work because those monsters by themselves are not enough to carry their own films. It really depends on the fan reception towards those monsters in Godzilla King of the Monsters. Like, I mean, if the appeal to those monsters are through the roof, then yeah, I don't see why not. But if it isn't, then obviously it's out of the question. Again, even if it is through the roof, I'm telling you, it would have to be insane how many people want a solo film in order for the studio to make a solo film. And as long as it advances the storyline of the Monsterverse, then I think it could work. So I think that Mothra, yeah, you'd have to have Godzilla or Kong in any of those films. Now, Rodan works really well with Godzilla, and King Kong works really well with Mothra. So naturally, I think that, and plus, Rodan and Godzilla, as cool as they'd be, I don't think it'd be nearly as unique as Kong and Mothra, because those monsters both have clearer intentions and emotions, rather Godzilla and Rodan. So I just think that Kong and Mothra, they click much better than Rodan and Godzilla do. Now, like I just said, you also need to have to progress the storyline of the Monsterverse as a whole. And you see, I don't really know how you do that. I mean, a thought I had was that okay, so let's talk Godzilla versus Kong for a second. Godzilla versus Kong, first off, you cannot have death, okay? And second, I don't know if I read this on Godzilla movie forums or Toho Kingdom, but someone said that first off, Kong and Mothra have a really good, interesting dynamic, but they also said that you can't have the winner of Godzilla versus Kong win by any bullshit means. So what does that mean? It means that you can't have Godzilla be saved by like Mothra. You can't have Kong being saved by humans or the military. So yeah, as long as there's a clear winner and that the fight is extremely brutal, like in Zimot's animation, and it's just a really cool battle, then yeah, that movie, it would obviously make over $1 billion. That would be an extremely successful film, and it would also indicate that the Monsterverse it would be green lighted by Toho to continue, and then Toho would like give rights to Godzilla to the monster, to Legendary, and the Monsterverse will continue. But in Godzilla vs. Kong, you can't have anyone die. Okay, so as long as there's a clear winner, you either have Kong be knocked out by Godzilla, or you have King Kong knock Godzilla out, and then that's it. The film's over, and then Kong walks away. Whatever it is, Kong is in a city, right? And Mothra, she's doing her own story, and then something causes her to go to Skull Island. She goes to Skull Island, and in this film, right now, Skull Island is in Kong's absence because he's in the city. He's either on his way home or he's knocked out, and then he's gonna get up and go home later. But in Kong's absence, Mothra is on Skull Island. This is the film where you really get to see how Kong was defending the Earth and defending his island. I mean, he was defending his island, and in turn, he was defending Earth. The same way Godzilla is defending his domain, and then in turn, he's defending the Earth. You see these monsters. Kong has been keeping these monsters underground. Not just the skull crawlers, but other monsters, like maybe even the Mutos, and monsters like the Mutos. You have monsters that they're basically cave dwellers, and then when they come out, they see Kong is in there, and then they wreak havoc. Yeah, you see, the Skullcrawlers and the Mutos are so much more alike in terms of repopulating and spreading. The Mutos, if 4 didn't blow up the nest, the Mutos would have repopulated the entire world, and then we'd be infested with 300-foot tall Mutos. The Skullcrawlers, if they escaped, first off, Ramarak is not the biggest Skullcrawler. There's in Kong and Skull Island, the Birth of Kong. There was way bigger Skullcrawlers, but if Kong wasn't keeping monsters like the Skullcrawlers underground, and he wasn't keeping them in line, they would come out and spread. So Mothra goes to Skull Island, and she sees that gigantic, horrifying monsters are infesting the island, and they're leaving the island. Some are trying to leave. Mothra arrived just in time to stop it. But you see not only Mutos or Skullcrawlers, but other gigantic, horrifying, just absolutely scary monsters. And this is when you realize, holy shit, Kong was fighting all these monsters this whole time? He really is a badass. And he is. So, yeah, Kong, he's keeping all these monsters. And you also think that, well, I guess he wasn't just sitting on his ass only fighting Skullcrawlers, not other monsters, because he is. He was fighting other monsters that are really cool. We just haven't been able to see it because we haven't seen the full Skull Island, even with the comic. So, yeah, you have Kong. You establish Kong is incredibly badass, and because Godzilla has already been established as incredibly badass, Kong hasn't. So this is the part where he really will be. So Mothra arrives, and then she stops. She tries to fight all these monsters, and then she realizes she can't do this on her own. And then this is where King Kong arrives, and he sees Mothra, and then he knows of her intentions, so he teams up with her. So they both fight the monsters together, and then we have a really cool film. There you go. So, yeah, Kong and Mothra, they make an interesting dynamic. And then you finish up Mothra's story. And then you have Mothra leave Skull Island, and you see King Kong looking at her as she leaves. And then King Kong roars like that. It's like, as a victory roar, because he defended his island, and that's what he's proud of. That you can make that work. All right, yeah, you could definitely make that work. But right after, you can't have a Rodan film. It can't be back to back because that just wouldn't work. That audience, oh come on, I want to see Godzilla already. I want to see King Kong already, even though we already did. So then you'd have to have Mothra, and then you'd have to have Godzilla because we already got to see Kong at least. So when you see Godzilla, this is where it would progress the Monsterverse even more, and this is where you're setting up the Shroud monsters. Then, after the Godzilla, you have Rodan, followed by King Kong, and with Rodan, you have Godzilla in there, and that progresses the Monsterverse. And then you have King Kong. This is you don't have to absolutely have King Kong, but yeah, it would work really good if you did. You'd have King Kong in there, and then you see King Kong's dynamic with Rodan and Godzilla. In that film, in the next film is when you have the Shroud monsters. And then you realize, where's Mothra? She hasn't been in the last 2 films. What's up with her absence? And then she arrives, and then you're like, damn, that's badass. It's Mothra. I'm such an idiot, you guys. I'm sorry. But you have, the Shroud monsters. That's when you have Mothra come in, and everyone's like, there's Mothra. I thought she died or something, bro. What the hell? And yeah, we have this really cool film with the Shroud monsters. You could either have an original big bad, or you could set up Destroya or Biollante. Because in Godzilla King of the Monsters, I think they already confirmed the Oxygen Destroyer will be in the actual film, and it will play a huge role. But yeah, I mean, I think the Oxygen Destroyer could be used, and it could... Because they're not going to kill Godzilla, because he's a hero. I don't know how they're going to go about doing that, but... If they use the Oxygen Destroyer, but it doesn't kill Godzilla, I guess I don't know, I guess they realize Godzilla isn't where they are, so they just use the Oxygen Destroyer for nothing? Something like that, I don't know. I guess you could say that that's what sparked Destroyer from being created, from the Oxygen Destroyer. and then he's in the Straw Monsters in that film. You can't have Rodan and Mothra. They couldn't work by themselves, but assuming the fan reception is good and the appeal to them is incredibly just through the roof, then yeah, you can have a solo film as long as King Kong and Godzilla are in there. And if the trailers show King Kong and Godzilla in there and it's really cool, then yeah, it could definitely work. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down below. If there was a solo film, could it work? How would it work? And what could you do to make it work if it couldn't? Let me know down below. This is King Kong 9100 signing out. See ya.